Welcome to the Tech Panel.
1, 2, 3, 4.
The podcast where tech minds meet.
Welcome to the Tech Panel, where we dive into the world of startups, innovation, and disruptive technologies. I'm your host, Arvin, and we're bringing you insights from an entrepreneur who's been making a significant impact in the IT service industry. If you're interested in how tailored IT solutions are empowering small businesses, this episode is for you. Today, we have a special guest host, Sarah Bowers. She's a TV and documentary producer, has interviewed countless business owners, and loves to uncover the stories behind people and how they innovate and challenge the industry. Sarah, give us a quick hello.
Hello. Yes, I'm definitely very passionate about, I guess, uncovering what drives people to start and how they overcome challenges. And, every entrepreneur that I interview, they're just so resilient. And I just love hearing those stories of how they've started and kind of worked their way up and overcome many challenges. So very excited to have a chat with you today.
Amazing. Same here. Likewise.
And then we're also joined by Gabriel Orrego, or is it Orrego?
Yes, Orrego. Yes.
Orrego. Oh, there we go. The founder and CEO of the Tech Guy Services. Gabriel has been working hands-on with businesses around the Sunshine Coast, offering personalized IT solutions that address the unique challenges small businesses face. Welcome to the show, Gabriel.
Thank you for having me. Excited to be here.
We're excited to have you on the show. And maybe just to start us off, could you tell us a bit about Tech Guy Services? What kinds of problems are you solving for your clients, and what's the core focus you're working on right now?
Yeah, that's a good question. What kinds of problems? Basically, any problem that if technology represents an obstacle for you, I bridge that gap. So it could be something as simple as I don't know how to do something, or I need to install new systems, or I need to digitize my current systems. Whatever roadblock you face with technology, I provide the personalized service, give you the solution, and if I don't solve it, I point you in the right direction and connect you with the right people.
You're kind of like the guy we all wish we had when we were dealing with tech problems at our company. You just wish someone like Gabriel would come around and be like, don't worry,
I got you.
I got this.
Yeah, I got you. Yeah.
Who are some of your clients that you're working with?
So at the moment, most of my clients are residential, so people living in the Noosa area and Parisian Springs mainly, but I cover all the Sunshine Coast, and also I would say 80% residential, 20% business, commercial at this stage. However, I'm shifting now with a new business offering, which is aiming to shift it towards 50-50, business, residential.
Yeah, lovely.
For businesses that typically have that classic setup where there's like an in-house IT guy, do you see yourself breaking into that industry and sort of, I don't want to say convincing businesses away from having in-house staff, but are you trying to say that maybe there's an alternative approach to having less overheads in your company and by leveraging services like yours only when you need it versus having someone 24/7 that's always chipping away at that overhead cost?
Absolutely, yeah. That's one of the value propositions of me being an extension of your team on demand when you need it, and either is on site or remotely. I will say like there is always room for improvement. If there is an on-site IT person already, I can basically understand what his roles are and see how I can empower him to do a better job as well. Or also basically do like an assessment on how the business is running and what opportunities for improvement are there. And I could either train the existing staff, or if there is no staff, I would be that extension of your team.
It's almost like an IT consultant in a business that already has that tech set up there.
Yes.
Yeah,
So
great.
people will approach me often as a consultant, and then I will basically, after the advice that I give, I end up also providing the solution, and I will end up adapting my service offering to whatever they need. So that's why I call it personalized.
Yeah, beautiful.
And, obviously IT is a massive field, right? We're dealing with, anything from hardware issues to networking to server related things. It sounds like you're touching on a lot of these different areas. How do you focus your attention, or probably more important question is, how do you stay upskilled on all of these different services as they constantly evolve?
Yeah, that's a good question. Basically, it's about the passion of always wanting to learn the technologies and understanding that like to be relevant in this industry, you have to continuously be learning everything. And that's actually what I love about it. So it's a good fit for me to always face new challenges, new opportunities, and new learning as well. I don't always I don't have all the answers, but I can find them and I can figure things out along the way. So there is an abundant amount of resources in the internet. So I'm always like, that's my daily university. And also doing networking with people that have more experience in certain specific niches, either like getting their perspective or bringing them on board as well for collaborations. So if there is something that I particularly don't have the bandwidth or the background to fully address it, I will bring someone from my business network and work with them collaboratively.
And speaking of background and I guess your passion for it all, how did you get into this industry? Where did it all start?
Yeah, so basically it all started by me studying mechatronics engineering back home.
What does that mean exactly? Someone's probably hearing this and
Megatronics.
thinking, this guy
Yeah.
builds transformers.
Yeah.
Sounds like it, yeah. So it's basically a combination of different engineerings in one. So it incorporates mechanics, electronics, and computer science. So it's like a holistic approach to engineering, understanding, optimizing systems, and how do they interrelate and how do they work in the back end, and also the business perspective on what are the boundaries of technology and how can we leverage these technologies for business applications.
And you were telling us before, this sort of created a foundational experience for you where you got the sort of technology background as a skill that was ironed out and felt well honed for you. And then you thought, I'm going to branch out and expand into the IT service industry. I think it's pretty interesting because I'm sure there's a lot of people out there that go through the background of getting a degree or going through formal education and think, where do I take this experience? Where can this bring me into the world? And now you're running your own organization and servicing all of these various businesses around the Sunshine Coast area. Can you tell me, I'm particularly interested in some of the challenges that people experience in the field. What are the types of issues that you're solving for most days?
Okay, that's a good question. So basically, that actually has two answers to it. So the challenges and the most common problem. So the challenges that I've seen mainly in the industry is like lack of communication. People usually don't know what they're paying for the IT provider. They usually they see IT as a black box that is a cost that, oh, we have to pay for this. It's a business expense. There is no way around it. And I don't know what I'm paying for and I don't have anyone to talk to, but I have to pay for it. So that's like the common thing that I've noticed in my clients, that they come, look, I got this system, this changed a few months ago. I don't know why, this and that. So all about awareness of why they're actually acquiring the services and why. And that leads me to the most common problems that I solve is basically like helping like unravel complex systems and technologies that people are using multiple softwares and they could be using just one, for example, or they are paying for licenses that they are not making the most of because they don't have the education. So basically the main value that I can find myself providing on a most constant basis is about like training and education. So empowering the end user not only to access the services but also to grow his business with knowledge as well.
I typically think of IT service people as very reactive by nature, right? I have a problem, I call you up, and I need you to solve that solution. Are you trying to change that perspective? Are you trying to get people to think more proactively about engaging services like you to get in front of these problems before they occur?
Absolutely. So that's one of the key components is proactive maintenance instead of reactive fixes. So usually businesses, because they lack the awareness or the education on how to keep their systems optimized, they just call IT people when it's usually too late. So the approach that I have is like taking my services like a vitamin rather than a painkiller. So usually like the painkiller is it's already too late, especially with cybersecurity attacks. If you didn't take your vitamins before, you get sick and then you have to suffer the consequences, and it's usually very expensive as well for the business. So
It's a great analogy.
the proactive maintenance is like giving you the vitamins so that you are in better shape and better health with your IT infrastructure.
That's great.
I think you touched on something really interesting there. Cybersecurity as a threat in general. I think that's becoming there's greater awareness, I think, amongst the public right now about the types of attacks that are occurring that are ruining people's lives, whether it's stealing your identity, ripping you off, or just wreaking havoc across industry in general. How are you sort of tackling some of these issues for now? Like, are you going through an awareness program where you're teaching people first and foremost, or what kind of campaigns are you running to make sure that people are privy to the types of issues that can arise if they don't take those medicine?
Yes.
those vitamins.
Those vitamins, yeah. So, yeah, awareness training is one of the key components, because you will find that the biggest vulnerability vector, the attack vector, is actually human-based. Through human behavior, they ultimately get you through a password. They have ways to hack passwords or get into phishing attempts. So even though we can put systems in place to prevent most of 90% of cybersecurity attacks based on behavioral analysis rather than reputational based, and we can dive into that a little bit later. But mainly, yeah, so awareness is like the first step. Not only from how would you operate your business and what things you need to be probably changing in your habits, in your daily habits. And there is always a trade-off between security and convenience. So a lot of the vulnerability attacks come from wanting to keep things simple. I don't want to change my passwords. I don't want to have a password manager. I don't want to do this and that. That seems inconvenient. But it's very important that like decision makers and also employees of companies understand the reason why we need to go through all these measures of security and frameworks to put in place. So the security is like the main component, and also the software that can detect. So we can do endpoint management, which is basically putting like a shield on all your devices rather than an antivirus. So an antivirus, typically the way that an antivirus works is that it scans your computer for known threats. So there is a list of hundreds of thousands of known threats. So this is known as reputational based detection. So if your computer has something that has a bad reputation in all these lists, it will detect it and it will help you remediate it. That's not sufficient these days.
Yeah, that's kind of like being a police officer and only saying I can catch criminals after they've committed the crime. Exactly. We've got a database of fingerprints. Yeah. Doesn't really prevent them from doing anything the first day, does it?
Exactly. So thanks to the technology advancement and AI, and it wouldn't be a tech podcast without mentioning AI.
Yeah, I was like, where's the buzzword?
the buzzword, yeah. So we can have basically systems running on your computer that will detect the behavior. So if it doesn't look for lists, it doesn't look for known threats, it looks for behaviors. Because the way that attacks unfold is usually like a common path of steps, and things can be, so if the software detects that something is behaving like a virus, that could be like running a script. Like if you download a Word document doesn't have to be running scripts. You just have to open a Word document. But if it runs a script on the back end, then it will detect those sort of behaviors and many others, and it will prevent it before the attack happens. So it's a more holistic approach to cybersecurity rather than waiting for the antivirus to detect. There are also ways to put in place like filters and blockages. For example, if you have a corporation with on-premise computers and you only want certain USBs to be read on your devices, we can like create a filter to allow that, and any other USB that doesn't have those parameters won't be even read. So it's preventing again before allowing things to go wrong.
Mm-hmm.
So we think about this as most of these viruses or scams, in my experience, they're mostly opportunity attacks, right? They're very opportunistic. They're looking for low-hanging fruit. And what you're sort of saying is, if we can just get you to a state of general health, get you on vitamins, this will put you outside of the scope of the people that are looking for those low-hanging fruit. And they'll just ignore you and put you into the too hard basket. So you're kind of improving operational security, putting to a point where they can trust the network and the services that they're leveraging and rely on you for situations when things go awry.
Absolutely. That's a great way of putting it. Yeah.
And not just for business, but for individuals as well. Is that correct? You're kind of protecting, the everyday person and kind of getting them set up. I probably need to chat with you more about my personal IT protection.
Absolutely.
What would be, I guess, one of the biggest tips you've got for an individual or for a business to protect themselves?
Yeah, so basically the standards are like have very, very like password hygiene.
Yeah.
I mean, like keep your passwords clean in the sense of like don't use your names, your pets, don't use numbers that are too common or related to you.
Would you put that on the web?
No, I don't.
So yeah, have like complex passwords. Have and the solution for that, if you don't want to deal with that, is have a password manager. Tools like NordVPN, NordPass, LastPass, great solutions for that. Also change them regularly. Have a VPN installed so that you have privacy online, so that hackers cannot be detecting your IP address and start diving deep into more information about you from there. So I think that a VPN is very essential these days as well.
Maybe explain what a VPN is for the average listener.
Yeah, so a VPN stands for Virtual Private Network. It's like it's basically a shield on your online identity. So the IP address is basically like each device that connects to the internet has an IP address, which you could think of as the identity of the device. There are ways for your internet service provider and also for malicious people out there to find what the address is, and they can basically discover many things about you, your location, where you base, what websites you access, what sort of things you are into, also like what platforms do you have like payment gateways on. So it can basically help them create an attack very, very like targeted to you. A VPN filters that, so it keeps you anonymous online. It's like a mask on your IP address, and it keeps you anonymous online.
Would a simple way of explaining that be like caller ID blocking? I can call you, and when you see it, it just says unknown number. And what you're saying is a VPN does that for your computer.
That's a good
If you were to go out into the internet, people wouldn't be able to identify who this computer is that's visiting that website or intercept the traffic between point A and point B.
Exactly, yeah, because it's going to a server of the VPN company that they have like distributed computers across the globe, and you could tap into those servers, and so you will be acting as the server rather than your individual machine.
I'm a little bit interested in here. You're what I would describe a one-to-many, right? You're one person, or do you have a team, or is it just yourself?
It's been me so far, but recently I'm excited to bring someone on board who is starting to help me now on
Congratulations,
Yeah.
your first teammate.
Yes, yeah, it's been an instrumental
Business is good.
success. It's good, yeah.
And so this is going to be something that's going to be an interesting dynamic for you, where you've gone through the exercise of juggling hundreds of customers, right? And you have a reputation at stake as well, right? These people know and trust who you are. The brand, the tech guy is you. And now you're saying it's the tech guys, right? Are you prepared, or how are you going to tackle the challenges of working in a more dynamic environment and putting your name on the line with those new people?
Yeah, that's a very good question, and that brings me to the way that I'm innovating on the business. So one of the key challenges that I've seen in the IT industry working as a contractor for different companies in Brisbane and the Sunshine Coast is that, there is no human contact, right? So one of my key principles is that I will always be the point of contact for the client. So I will always interact with them, and I will always be there for them to listen, to understand their needs, and to speak their language. So obviously the way to scale that's not as scalable for everyone, but my plan is actually becoming as effective as possible through software and through operations, and leveraging the people that join the team for running the infrastructure in the backend. What that will allow me to keep being the front face for the client, because it's all about like that personalized. So my commitment is to always be there for my clients, and basically do the best I can through technology and through team collaboration to scale everything else that will take my time and my bandwidth.
And in terms of that scaling, how have you, I guess, found it so far when you're on your own and you're building the business, you're trying to do everything? Has there been anything any, software or programs or I guess innovations that have really helped you, with the juggle?
Yeah, absolutely. So one of them is actually a very simple piece of software that you may be familiar with, and it's Notion. Notion
Oh,
is
wait, I'm not. Walk us through that.
Notion.
Yeah.
Okay. So Notion is basically a database. It's like a hybrid spreadsheet. So you start with a blank page, and you can customize everything. You can build databases. You can build pages. You can interlink databases with databases, and the benefit of that is that you can create basically your own systems for life management, project management, note taking, meetings, and start documenting everything that you do along the journey. So like from a personal perspective, it's been really helpful. It's basically like a second brain. Are you familiar with the concept of second brain, digital second brain?
I'm not. Hit me.
So basically, it's using tools or software to download your brain into put a structure to your brain.
Okay.
So like for the knowledge management, learning management, project management, and because this software Notion is so flexible, the sky is the limit. Like you can set automations, you can set, and there is a bit of a learning curve to it, but it's actually for the everyday person can use it, and a lot of use cases in the creator economy, in many different industries use it. I haven't seen it so much in the IT industry from a business perspective, but the individuals usually use them for them. So I'm incorporating both, usually using it for me to make sure that I document everything that I learn and the processes, and every time that I face a new challenge, I will find the solution, document that solution, so that becomes a scalable SOP or standard operational procedure for in the future pass down to someone and then train them from there. So it's all about documentation and keeping track of things.
That's great. So it's
that's
almost,
one.
would it be similar to like an Asana or a Monday.com, but just on a
Yes.
bigger scale?
Yeah, those are usually alternatives to that one. This one is, and those could be really good for certain purposes. This one is more flexible, more open, and more customizable.
Yeah, great.
Did you hear that Notion? Untapped market, IT people.
Yeah. Sounds great.
Yes.
That's really good.
So that's one, and the other one is SuperOps. SuperOps is more of an industry niche software that allows you to basically manage ticketing systems for your client inquiries, training processes for your employees, also like endpoint management that allows you to bring computers, like hundreds and hundreds of computers to the system, and you can monitor them. It also has a lot of AI capabilities, so that's why I'm so excited to be in this time, like be alive in this time of transition and innovation of technology, because you could do so much more that you couldn't do before. And that's actually one of the reasons why I recently started this like branching out into an MSP model, which stands for Managed Services Provider, because back then you will need an office with 10 employees full-time, 10 computers to be able to handle everyone's computers and infrastructure. Right now, with one piece of software, you can bring hundreds of computers and it will monitor them, what needs to be updated, what needs to be improved. It will help you basically keep track of also preventing the machine to collapse or to have the need to be fixed, because it will stay on top of everything proactively. So that's the industry specific piece of software that has been game changer.
Sounds amazing for your workflow, but also for your scaling of the business. Like, as you said, you don't need 10 people in an office anymore. You can expand now. So it takes that pressure off.
Absolutely.
I think it's good that you're also putting the right tools in place for this new team member that you're bringing on board as well. You're going to equip them with what they need to make sure that they can operate at an adequate level that's on par with yours. I want to bring it back real quick. I think many people are always curious when speaking to new business startups, what was the biggest fear that you had when starting out, and how did you overcome that? And the other big question I've got here is, what surprised you the most in the early days about building your business that you didn't expect?
Good questions. So the biggest fear, I think that it goes for every entrepreneur, and it's always about like getting out of your comfort zone. Is this gonna work? is people going to appreciate what I do? Do I actually have value to offer? Like you always have that imposter syndrome.
That fear of
when you are-
failure is such
yeah.
like a, non-starter. So,
Mhm.
yeah.
Yeah, and the way to overcome that was basically through actually one of the key influence on that was the book Start Before You're Ready by Mick Spencer. He's an Australian entrepreneur, and that was actually the first book that I read in English. And I read it like fully. And when I started reading it, I didn't understand one word. That was like in the early days when I arrived to Australia. I was translating word by word until eventually I went through the whole book. It took me a while, but I got a lot of insights from it. And then I read it again, and it's been like it wired my brain in a way of like fast iteration, like put yourself out there, like learn in the process, like make mistakes and get feedback from real data rather than trying to hypothesize the ideal scenario for your business and wait until all the conditions are perfectly, because they're never going to be perfect. So it's all about like going out there and getting out of the comfort zone. That's one. And what was the second question again?
What surprised you the most in the early days of starting your business? What is something that kind of caught you off guard about the experience?
I would say an overwhelming pleasant surprise of how people were responding to my service. I realized that, like, it helped me realize that there was no something like this out there, like a personalized approach to tech. It's something that I used to probably take for granted because it's how I naturally have been operating with people. Like, I'm very people-centric and customer-centric, so, like, I'm very focused on the person rather than on the tech. And yeah, like, I didn't took that into consideration that was going to be the key differentiation. I was just doing it as something that was coming natural for me, but people always end up with the feedback like, oh my God, I didn't know that this was possible, or I didn't know that I could talk to someone in such level of understanding about my tech. And usually tech people are really focused on the tech. I love tech, but I'm more focused on the people.
Being so customer facing, is that what drives you now, that being able to help these people? Is that one of your passions?
Absolutely, yeah. Solving problems. Basically, if I could say my business in one line, is I help people understand technology and I make technology work for people.
How does it make you feel when you've done a great day's work?
It's very rewarding. It's very rewarding, and each day I visit different people, and that's what keeps me excited. It keeps me different places, different locations. I get to interact with real people in their homes, in their businesses, and it's always like I've been so grateful to get so much like positive feedback, and because I started this like my own brand only in January. I've been always working as a contractor for other businesses, and from January to here, it's been like so many positive reviews on Google and voice to voice, and people are starting to recommend me very organically. So that's very rewarding, and that's why I do it.
That's kind of like the experience. And it sounds like, unfortunately, you sold yourself a little bit short about the type of unique impact you offer to the community. You're like the doctor for people's businesses, right? You're dealing with those frontline situations where people are like, my business is in pain right now, and I need someone to help me out. And when you can solve those types of challenges for people, you are dramatically changing and making a huge positive impact on the lives of these individuals. I am recognizing the time here. We're starting to come a bit short. You kind of, I think, took a question I always like asking people, which is, are there any pieces of technology that come to mind that are particularly impactful, that you're an evangelist of and want to preach out to the world? But it sounds like it would have been Notion, and what was the other one?
Notion for everyday people and Super Ops for IT management. But in terms of your question, in terms of technologies and advocating for them, I would say like the Web3 industry in general and the blockchain, how the way that is fostering innovation and disrupting like traditional hierarchical models and allowing more network models and distributed decision making. So that's a technology that I really advocate for, and I have the experience of interacting in multiple projects and startups on that industry, and I believe that it's helping the future of humanity and accelerating progress through through like basically the ethos of knowledge sharing, collaboration, and distributed decision making, and transparency and accountability that the blockchain technology allows for.
I may be opening up a can of worms given how much time we have left, but what is Web3 and blockchain?
That's a great question. So, to keep it short, blockchain is the technology that powers cryptocurrencies like Bitcoin. So, most people don't actually understand the difference between Bitcoin or blockchain. So, it was like the first tangible application of blockchain. Blockchain was invented like so many years before Bitcoin, but Bitcoin was like the first application of that distributed ledger technology to solve a specific problem, which was a financial problem. After that, many other cryptocurrencies emerged, Ethereum, Solana, and hundreds of thousands that still emerge every day. So those cryptocurrencies are powered by blockchain, but blockchain also allows other applications like NFTs, DAOs, decentralized autonomous organizations. And Web3 is basically the umbrella that covers that technology and is the evolution of the internet. So the internet that we know today is the Web 2. Facebook, Amazon, Google, and everything that we use right now and that we are familiar with is the Web 2. The Web 3 is the natural transition and the evolution of the internet that is incorporating blockchain technology.
Well, look, where can listeners find you and what's the website? Please share your details.
Yeah, so my website is thetechguide.services, and they can find me on LinkedIn. All my information is on the website as well. Get in touch. All my socials. You can find me on the Facebook page, LinkedIn page, but everything can be found on thetechguide.services.
Perfect. Gabriel, it's been an absolute pleasure having you on the show. Sarah, is there anything you wanted to ask before we wrap? Yeah.
I wanted to ask about, talking about how, forward-thinking you are and how you're always, your daily university is Googling and keeping ahead of the trends. I wanted to know about the future of your business, but
oh, sorry. Yeah, sorry.
But or where you see the future of your services.
Yes, thank you for bringing that up. And that actually is the other component of the business, which is the tech group. So the tech guy is the IT support. The tech group is going to be the innovation center for collaboration. So basically meetups, events, co-working and co-learning experiences where people can learn with hands-on projects. And from there, basically I will start distributing the workload and the opportunities to the people that have the passion and the energy and the curiosity to learn these things. And it's all going to be like project-based and facilitating an ecosystem for collaboration and rapid innovation.
It's brilliant. I love that the technology's got so much like knowledge sharing.
I do too. Yeah.
I just love that. It's not many industries do it as much as tech, I think. Yeah.
Thank
always
you.
like working on the greater good.
That's exactly.
Yeah.
Gabriel, thanks so much again. We really appreciate having you on the show. This has been really interesting, and I'm glad to hear there's someone out in the community that can leverage your skills and take advantage of having such an awesome guy out there.
Thank you so much. It's been a pleasure to be here. Thanks for having me.
No worries. Get your
And
own.
thanks for the great work you're doing as well, spreading this knowledge to the local community.
Really appreciate it, brother.
Thank you.
Thanks for tuning in to the Tech Panel. If you like what you heard, make sure to subscribe on YouTube and follow us on TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, and LinkedIn to stay connected. A big thank you to our major sponsor, SmoothLink Integrations, for powering today's episode. And join us again on the next episode of the Tech Panel, where tech minds meet.